make sure this is gonna.
Okay.
All right.
I'll try not to F-bomb like Brandon did.
I will. I censored it and I screwed up.
Cool, so I'll just say as soon as it starts rolling. Be like, oh, there it is.
Here we go.
Okay. Hello, my name is E. I work here at Peace Camera. Today we're going to show you how to do photo editing. So if we actually look towards the computer screen right here, we'll kind of see, and I'll review kind of what we were doing before, just to give a little bit of review just in case somebody forgot. So right here is the original image that we were working with. This is after I do my basic edits of the image, just to make the image look pretty good itself. This is, again, what I normally call a super edit image because this is very heavily layered and stuff. So this is originally what we had started out with, and as we're working our way through, you could see that we then started doing like actual outlines and things like that. So we isolated the figure. We then introduced the background. We then introduced some, special effects, which we had to paint in, whether we liked it or not. And then we went in and added the actual person, which now has a little bit more edits to it after the basic edits, to mirror the actual correct lighting and exposures and all that stuff that is within the background image. So right now, I have all those 3 folders clicked. I actually took each individual one and made a duplicate and flattened it so that it's a little easier for me to work with. Because these layers do eventually get very cluttered, which I can actually show you. As you can see, there is a good 20 plus layers right here, so it does become really hard to organize it as you are continuously working with it. So yeah, at this point now, it's pretty good, to take a step back from the actual image that you're editing, especially if you've already done it for 3+ hours. It especially helps you have fresh eyes and to relook at the situation a little bit differently. By this point, we're just trying to work towards getting it more seamless. As you can see, the girl is very sharp, whereas the background is in motion, meaning that there are areas where it is not as sharp. Because of that now, we have to do a little bit of trial and error with some of the blur filters and a few other things within Photoshop to make it look actually seamless, meaning that it was taken together. Because of that, I probably will be working more on the female and the lightning and smoke behind her so that it will match the background behind it. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. Because of that, though, and because these are all the layers I have, I am going to create another duplicate of the girl right here, just because it's easier to work with 1 and 2, so it's always better to have the original in the very back and then work your way forward in case something is wrong. You can just always then delete the layer that you did wrong, and then you have, the original layer behind it that has been untampered with. Also a good way to reference kind of what is right, what's wrong, and what has changed. So yeah, so we're going to click on the girl, the very bottom layer. We're going to go to filter. We're going to go to Gaussian blur. This is something I like using a little bit more than other people, especially when I'm trying to do stuff. But as you can see, it just blurs her out more and more. So I'm going to probably, right now she's sharp. That's a 3.7. That's a 9.5. That looks pretty appropriate. I probably will still change a few things. This is kind of where things start to get a little harder to explain because this is also where I have to go in and start figuring out what's the best method and best way to make the image pop. So right now I have a layer mask on the top image of the girl that I had duplicated, and I'm just going to brush around the edges of her cape and her shoes and stuff like that, which will give it that natural blurred effect. So we're going to just start doing that because it will start to reveal the bottom layer of that thing then. And then you can always, subtract what you want with the layer masks, which is why I really like it. You can always go back in and re-add what you have to add and what you've taken away to a certain degree. It makes life a lot easier when you're editing. So, like at this point, I want a little bit more action. Oops! Action in the cape. I want to see a little bit more creases. That's me muting our computer at work. I think some blurs right here and there might be good. Maybe one or two there. She still looks like she needs some help, so we are going to then do probably a layer duplicate again to get back that original layer and just delete one of the layer masks on one of these. We're going to disable it on that one, then hide that one. We're going to go back in here. It looks pretty much appropriate so far. Let's see here. Let's see. Obviously, we're still getting some textures. We're still getting, you know, some of the details and stuff like that. I am thinking, ooh, whoops. I am also thinking that she needs another blur layer. We're going to duplicate this again. We're going to apply the layer mask. We're going to detach that one. So this one had that layer mask applied, so now when I take it on and off, you'll see the blurs just naturally occurring. We are then going to go in and duplicate this layer. Then we're going to merge those two layers together, which gives us exactly what was beneath it, which means I can turn that one off, turn this one back on, and this one should now just have, you know, the appropriate amount of blurs. And now I'm going to go in and add another blur filter. And I think at this point I'm thinking perhaps a lens blur might help. This is kind of, again, where I'm talking about where you have to play with it, whether you like it or not, to see what is the best option. It does become a little hard, like right here, you see me just playing with some of the blur action and whatnot. Obviously, some of these are doing nothing. It's hard to explain. These motions are very subtle. Some of these are good, some of these are not. We're going to see here. Right now, I'm not liking the way it looks, so I'm going to actually cancel that one and actually do a different one. I'm going to try another one. We are going to try motion blur at this point and see if that will get the look I am wanting to achieve. Oh, and it did. But we want to add a 90. Oh, screw it. I like that look, and now it's giving me more of an actual direction and details of what's happening. So this is why I say playing with layers come in handy, because as you can see, it actually looks like it's capturing the motion of the girl moving. So because that's giving me an idea, we're going to right click, duplicate again, got to make another layer. It's good to have duplicates when you're doing mass edits like that, so you can go back and just figure out what step you left out on. We're going to go back to that. We're going to do the motion blur on the bottom one this time, because I have an idea. We're going to go back here, we're going to motion blur, we're going to motion blur it up, and it changed my angle. We're going to put it back to 90 so it matches the degree of which the girl is jumping up and down. We're going to push it up to probably that amount. We're going to reintroduce that one. We're going to move the bottom layer up just a little. And this is where it helps to sometimes not wear contacts, but your appropriate unit to measure your eyeballs with. Of course, I don't do that, so I normally just wear contacts. And that looks pretty interesting now. More of an idea. We're going to duplicate it again. So now we have two layers of the same thing. We're going to go back here. We're going to go back to the blur gallery. As you can see, it's leaving a trail almost as if the girl is in action and in movement, as my coworker makes a face right behind me. So I'm going to actually increase that. That right there looks kind of cool. So that looks pretty good, and perhaps I might have overdone it just a little bit. Because now you can see it on the bottom. But that's okay because we can go back in and add another layer mask. At this point, I'm going to use the nice, fun, fuzzy brush on the ends because the harder brush is not what we're looking for. With this brush, we are able to get a little bit closer to the details, blur it out a little bit better, and have it look more seamless. The girl still obviously looks just a bit too, too clear. So at this point, I'm going to say she's going to need a little bit more work. We're going to duplicate another layer by this point of the same girl again. We're going to just go in and do that. And most people may or may not be able to follow me. Like I said, this is kind of some more of the things where I'm just going in and I'm figuring it out. That did not work what I was wanting. So this is where a lot of the ones that I do, it really depends on how the photo is being put together and kind of what you're wanting. This is probably one of the weirder ones just because I added a background that is in motion. Generally, it is the person I want in motion, not the background, because it's easier to seamlessly put it together. When it's not like this, it becomes a little bit harder. So, my bad. Whoops! Let's see what a tilt shift will do, though. Oh boy. My computer's being very, very slow.